Hello, welcome to Virgo season. We have Christine and Lois and Anastasiia here to look at what's ahead in what appears to be a very, very busy astrological season. So we're going to have Anastasiia start us off. Christine will share some insights for human design. Lois is always wonderful at joining in with some coaching tips to ride these waves. And I get the wonderful job just to hold space for everyone. So thank you. And Anastasiia, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Hello. This Virgo season is really rare because, first of all, in just 1 month, we'll live through three major lunations. Usually we have only two, new moon and full moon, but this time we have two new moons. So the season begins with a new moon at the very first degree of Virgo and ends with a new moon at the very last degree. And two of these lunations are eclipses. So it's really, really intense. It should be intense. Moreover, the Sun in Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury will travel through three signs of the zodiac during this period. So we will also have a lot of change in our mental journey. And this is also a month that starts with the seeds, tests them in real time. We have an intense middle of the season, and it ends with decisions. We will have to make some decisions by the end of Virgo season. So it's true decision-making month. So let's begin right where it all starts with the new moon in Virgo on August 23rd. We have a new moon. It's right at the first degree of Virgo, as I have said, and it's the very first step of the sun into the sign. That's significant. First degree means beginnings, planting seeds, setting tone, and because it's in Virgo, it's about setting intentions related to practicality, clarity, health, routines, responsibilities. So it sounds a little boring, but it will not be the case this time because the new moon is in a close square with Uranus. And Uranus always adds a layer of surprise, disruption, or sudden realization. I was already surprised to see this square of Uranus because in the last 7 years, Uranus was in Taurus, and I got used to it. And suddenly, I was all of a sudden, it's in the beginning of Gemini, and it makes it a square. So something may shift quickly during this time, like a perspective, a plan, even a relationship. So it's the kind of lunation that triggers action, and sometimes before we fully understand the consequences. So while Virgo is usually very methodical, this new moon feels more electric, reactive, and potentially inspiring. Hopefully, if we stay flexible, flexibility is important during this time. And the ruler of the new moon, Mercury, it doesn't see the new moon. I don't want to give too much into astrology, but it means that the ruler of the new moon gives no direct support to it. So our minds may not be ready to fully process or follow through. And instead, the lunation is received by Venus, which is very soft, emotional, and reflective at the moment. And Venus stays with Jupiter at this time, which does offer some grace and generosity. But it also makes the new moon feel more relational than task oriented. So we are prone to set all the tasks, but the relationship idea is going to conflict with our just normal task orientation. So what does it mean in practice? It means that we should not try figure everything out right away. We should let ideas come and don't rush into react into acting into these ideas, and we should also pay attention to the emotional tone, um, to understand if we are making these decisions from pressure or from clarity. And it's also important to remember that this is the first new moon in Virgo, and we will have the second one at the end of the month. So it's just part one of a longer process. We don't have to do it to have the full picture at once, and we are just at the starting point. And what I think also is important is that Virgo is often seen as a sign of perfection. But this is not the case with this new moon, so you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to encompass every detail. Go small, plan small, doable things, and then you can adapt over time. So that's the idea from the astrological perspective. What can you say? Can you add, Christine?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I love how these things line up. So this new moon, as you say, like is not is small things are great, and there is like a dilemma from a human design standpoint. There are dilemmas built into the all the aspects that you just talked about, right? The moon itself is going to be in gate 59, line 4, which is literally called the line of companionship, right? This energy is very much about intimacy, right? About, new experiences with, breaking down bonds, essentially, right? Like breaking down barriers and forming new bonds, is what I should say. And this Uranus position that you're talking about, it's in gate 20, which is the now, right? And so there's this movement, action, wanting to move forward quickly. But then the Mercury piece that you talked about, Mercury's in the gate of retreat and privacy, right? So there's this tension in between these energies, right? This is wanting to be in the moment, wanting to be active, wanting to make new, experiences essentially, and then also this pulling away energy um, in Mercury. So, yeah, all I can say is it sounds like it's same kinds of energy from a human design perspective as well. Like go slow, pay attention, wait for the next new moon to do the big things.
Yeah, this is really I'd say that it's neat how it aligns. Yeah. And it aligns also perfectly with the this first chapter of Mercury. As the sun moves through Virgo, we should watch the journey of Mercury because it's the Virgo's ruler. And it's the planet of thought, speech, planning, and everyday decisions. And in the beginning, from August 23rd till September 2nd, it stays in Leo. And this is a curious moment because the sun is in Virgo, in the sign of Mercury, and the Mercury is in the sign of the sun, Leo. So in astrology, we say that they're kind of exchanging houses. We call it mutual reception. And I think that's the main idea of the period, that your mind,
Yeah.
Mercury, is in mutual reception with your spirit, your sun. It's like the mind is pretending to be spiritual, and the spirit tries to be practical, and they should be supporting each other, but maybe they're not exactly aligned. They don't really meet, they're just receiving each other, they're just trying other shoes on. And it may feel like you're thinking big, maybe even speaking with more confidence than usual, because Mercury in Leo is loud. Ideas come with a sense of pride or urgency, and you want to get your point across. But you might be planning things that are too bold, too creative, and you don't see exactly how it will go in practice. You don't see the practical details yet. And it's okay, because Mercury is expressive, dramatic, and Virgo is about practical steps. So we need to wait for them to unite, for Mercury to go further into Virgo, and then we will have this opportunity in the beginning of September to really follow our plans, to really follow our big ideas. But still, it's a nice time for creative brainstorming and preparing outlines, dreaming big. Just don't expect everything to click yet. Um, do you have anything to add for this time period till September 2nd?
Yeah, so as Mercury's going through this part of Leo, it's going through several gates in the human design mandala, right? And again, it's in this gate 33 retreat first, right? It's just in this space where it wants to reflect, it wants to pull back, it wants to look at experiences to try to make sense of what's worthy of, paying attention to and what can just fall away. And then it walks into this role of the self, this gate 7, which is about like, who am I and what am I, how am I behaving as a leader to myself and to others, right? It's a collective energy. And so there is this, once I've been thinking about these things, it brings it back into, okay, what do I want to do about that? And then on the 27th, it moves into gate 4, which is called formalization, which is all about wanting to find answers, right? So I can kind of see this progression walking through these energies. And then, as you say, the minute we flip into the Virgo energy, that first gate is the gate 20, is gate 29, the gate of saying yes, right? So there's this kind of contemplative session through Leo, and then all of a sudden, this Virgo energy, I think that will switch, and this idea like, ooh, it's ready. I'm ready for new experiences. I'm ready to discover something new. I'm ready to say yes to whatever. So,
Yeah.
I'm finding this really interesting from also from a human design perspective. Like I feel just listening to both of you talk, my little generator motor going, like, come on, let's bring it on, let's do it. And then I was also thinking, because I'm a 6'3", and I'm thinking, I would think folks that are role models that are in that line 6 are going to want to just take off and fly with this energy. They're going to want to really be out there. And Anastasiia, I'm sure you have a lens of which sun signs might be more triggered by this energy to want to get ahead of ourselves, possibly.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say fixed signs, the Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius,
Yeah, that's why I'm feeling it. Sure.
and Taurus. They do feel this energy right now, but it's interesting because these signs were quite stressed recently. But in this difficult Virgo season in September, as soon as Mercury enters Virgo, and as soon as we have all these eclipses in Virgo pieces, then the fixed signs are a little bit set off. They should not have so much agitation and so much. They should not be affected so much. And when we talk about eclipses, I will probably tell more about which signs are affected by them. So just enjoy your active
Sure.
active mind until the end of August. Yeah. Mm.
It does feel like it's a time for like a good grounding exercise because like I'm listening to the conversation and everything feels like it's trying to lift off, and so and there's all of this not knowing and shifting and just that ability just to keep bringing yourself into the space and going, okay, what's now? What's now? I think it would be really helpful in this period.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. Because with these fire signs like Leo, and they are going up even further than air signs. They are so driven by ideas, by such they can burn themselves with this mental work. So grounding is just perfect.
The image of Icarus and the sun came up.
Hmm.
Nice. And yeah, so then on September 2nd, Mercury enters Virgo, its home sign, and there it functions best. This period lasts till September 18th, and in this phase from September 2nd till September 18th, everything changes and the mind becomes clearer. Thoughts turn toward real logistics, lists, practical questions, exact timing. No more think big, instead think practical, be here and now. But the most productive days of the month are perhaps the 10 days from September 2nd till September 12th. Because they are ideal for sorting documents, making appointments, resolving pending tasks, planning and coordinating. They are productive not in the sense of creative ideas, but in the sense of making this real, making the ideas real. This is when Mercury starts preparing to its conjunction with the Sun. This will occur around September 14th. And that conjunction is a reset of the mental cycle, a moment of insight and alignment and it's the point when the mind and spirit finally meet. So if the first phase till September 2nd was more about dreaming and expressing your dreams. This second phase is about doing and refining. So, and especially till September 12th, because after that we have some not such nice things entering. But in the middle of this nice, rational, seemingly conscious stage, we have a full moon. And it's not just a full moon, it's a total lunar eclipse with a big emphasis on emotions and relationships. So Mercury focuses on precision and tangible processes, but the eclipse reminds us that, I don't know, not everything is a spreadsheet. You know, some choices are made in the heart first and only then refined by logic. And the biggest challenge of the eclipse is it comes from its ruler, Jupiter. It is in a strong position. It's exalted in Cancer, but Jupiter here is caring, protective, nurturing, aiming to expand what feels safe and emotionally fulfilling. But Jupiter is in a tight square. That's a stressful aspect to Mars in Libra. And that's where the tension lies. Mars in Libra wants action through relationships, negotiations, sometimes through confrontation. And Jupiter in Cancer wants to keep the nest safe, to preserve comfort, to protect what matters. So we may feel pulled between protecting our own emotional ground and stepping into situations that demand assertiveness. So the first recommendation I can give here is take care of the people you value and of your relationships with them. I also believe that the now practical Mercury could help us process these emotional shifts. So we shouldn't be worried that we will be too logical or too much into this spreadsheet, but we should use this energy by writing, sorting, clarifying without rushing to act. So if the eclipse brings difficult decisions, just break them down into smaller steps. That's a Mercury approach, Mercury and Virgo approach. If a conversation feels charged, slow down, give yourself time to think it over. And pay attention to gut feelings, because Jupiter is speaking loud now, but filter them through what will protect your emotional stability in the long run. Think about your life strategically, because eclipses, they don't come just for 1 or 2 days. They charge us with the energy of for months or years ahead sometimes. So it's very important how we will react to those energies that we will feel around September 7th. And it's not only on the September 7th, it's also about a week before that, a week after that. It's a productive time. It's good for realizing ideas, for making them true, but it's at the same time such a contradictory period. So that's the idea of this lunar eclipse. Do you have anything to add about lunar eclipse?
Yeah, a little bit. I agree with you about Mercury in the second stage, right? Like from a human design perspective, Mercury is walking through tribal channels in that section, right? Where it's very much about like this kind of, it tends to be more like practical support, like I have to do these things to make sure everybody's doing well, make sure I'm doing well, right? It tends to be very earth planed stuff. So, first it's in the channel of intimacy, which is about, again, breaking down barriers, which I can think about like working on things that have been stymieing you for some reason, right? Like finding new inroads in places where you might have been thwarted before, right? This communication energy, having new ways to communicate with others that maybe you were struggling with before. It goes then into the gate of aloneness, which is part of the community channel. It's very strong energy to really figure out how you can support others, how you can support yourself. So I can see all of that practical energy coming into this eclipse. And then as we're coming into this eclipse, in the background in human design, what's going on is there's a lot of defined energy for the planet, right? So the whole planet will have the head in Ajna defined and the spleen to throat defined, which means, to me is like that's a lot of collective energy around like this mental process, but coupled with the spleen to throat, which is very intuitive, right? Very under, like knowing in the moment what needs to happen to stay safe, essentially. And so at that moment of the lunar eclipse, all of this other energy will be on inside of everyone as well. So I just think about how much, definition is going to be happening at the moment of the eclipse. Um, so yeah. And the moon at that point is in the gate of doubt, which is a very skeptical energy. It's a very it wants to make sure. It's like the gate of the scientist, right? Like the person that really wants to run the experiments and make sure that the thing is true, check it in again and check it again. So I don't know, the moon being in that gate, I think is also kind of interesting and, corresponds to what you were saying in some ways.
Yeah, it does. It's at moon in pieces at the moment. Yeah, and it's interesting that these eclipses, both eclipses that we have in September, they echo the eclipses in February and March this year. And then we had the sun eclipse in Pisces and moon eclipse in Virgo. Now we have this vice versa. So they kind of make us think about what was going on back then, and this moon, it drives our this Pisces energy, this collective energy, and this doubt, because Pisces are probably the most doubtful, doubting sign. So yeah, that's a nice comment. Yeah. But yeah, let's return to Mercury because it's the main idea, the main planet. It plays the major role here because toward the September after September 12th, it changes. It's no more such a nice mind spirit together doing, they're not so easily, we will not so easily understand and accept everything, all ideas that come, because between September 13th and 18th, Mercury enters opposition with Saturn. And this meeting of mind and spirit, the conjunction of Sun and Mercury, happens with the participation of Saturn. So also it may be nice to return, although it may be nice to return to this full consciousness. It may also be painful. Saturn brings this pain, Saturn brings tension, mental fatigue, critical self-talk, delays in communication, which is the easiest part of it. It may feel like your plans are being tested. So that's the middle of the season when you are trying to understand if I went the right way, if I chose the right direction in the beginning. But I believe this tension can still be useful because it helps sharpen, filter, and prioritize. Not all friction is bad. Some is part of maturing your ideas. Just don't be too critical of yourself and of others as well. Especially because it's the time that influenced by the lunar eclipse, which is about our relationships with others. So rely on the strong planets, and the strong and good planets here are Jupiter and Venus, and they say be noble. Treat mistakes as an opportunity to make it this time right, and treat yourself and others with love. And it's such a strong message of these planets that personally I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to write this message of Jupiter and Venus and stick it to my fridge so that everyone sees it. Treat yourself and others with love. Allow yourself to make mistakes and treat mistakes as an opportunity, and be noble. That's just the biggest message of the month, I guess. That's how I value it. There are not so many things in September, so many planets in September that support us, but Venus and Jupiter do. So that's how maybe I take it too personal. But maybe we'll discuss it next month and see how it went for everyone and how it worked, and if it helped to hear this message. Yeah.
Well, I loved hearing you use the human design language unintentionally, I think, but it was right there. So Mercury is in actually in not the whole time, but the bulk of that 13 to 18. It's in gate 6, the gate of friction, right? And this is the energy, this is the energy to recognize that friction is necessary in the world, right? Like this is how we deepen our understanding. This is how we deepen our relationships. This is how we have to move through these times of friction in order to, we were just talking about it yesterday. I think of it like the pearl energy, right? Like there's this irritant that happens, but over time that irritant creates this beautiful pearl, right? Because we go through the process of experiencing the friction and working through it, right? And so Mercury is in this energy for the bulk of this time, and it's in, and if the position that Saturn is in is gate 25, which is a beautiful energy in design. It's the spirit of the self, and it's innocence, right? And so I think about Saturn being in this kind of what I like to think of as this like childlike love of the world, love of everything. It kind of contains the love of even inanimate objects, right? It's like this beautiful, loving energy that recognizes that everything has spirit and everything, we are all part of that same spirit. And so Saturn in that space is kind of like, it's not the worst place Saturn could be while all this is happening, from a human design perspective. It feels like a Saturn that has some real, I don't know, compassion, I guess, as opposed to being a hard-hitting, driver of discipline.
I may have a professional question. I want to ask if Saturn, which is quite strict and so harsh, if it is in a nice compassion gate, does it not mean in human design that Saturn spoils this gate? That compassion is kind of fault? No.
I don't know. That's really interesting. I've never really. I mean, you're saying like in astrology that would be kind of the
Yeah, but not about the kids, but about the sign. Yeah, when
yeah.
the Saturn comes somewhere and
Yeah.
it comes to something beautiful, it can spoil this beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I mean it's possible, but I always think of it as, like everything, all of these energies contain a full spectrum, right? So even Saturn can be a loving disciplinarian, right? Like, and I just kind of feel like that's kind of the case with this particular position. So, I don't
Mhm.
know if that's right or not, but that's just my sense.
I love what you said. I love it with the pearls and with this compassionate Saturn, and that we should be. I think we should find our pearls in this time period. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It takes time to find those pearls. And I was just like watching, like going through the sort of the rush that this period starts with in August is like to slow down and to not rush through this period because it seems like there's a lot to be mined in here, a lot to be learned. And so to take the time and appreciate even the difficulties, um, that it feels like that would be really worthy at this point.
Yeah, it definitely will. Because when we this month may feel, sometimes we look back and we see that the time passed so quickly, but sometimes we look back and we understand that so much happened,
Mhm.
that it was such a long, really such an intense period, and that's the period ahead of us now. It will pass quickly because we will be in kind of rush, but we should be really trying to be conscious and to mark all the points that we are gathering,
Uh,
perhaps. Yeah.
this also is mirrored in farming and in nature right now. This month is so busy and full and rich of all the things that are happening with plants. And there are so many activities that need to happen. And there can be some harshness around that. And I was thinking about how most of the plants that we're growing right now, whether they are native species or things we've cultivated, are coming to that pinnacle point where they're going to release their seeds. And to release their seeds, it requires some friction there. And there's tension. And then those seeds burst loose. And then we're moving into a new season. And so they can lay dormant and be ready for next spring or be picked up by a loving bird and carried elsewhere, right? But I think every time we go through these astrological periods, we can easily see how they're reflected in nature, or nature is reflected in the season, whichever lens we wish to take. And this is probably, I would say, the busiest month. If you look outside, you can almost hear everything happening.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a time of also gathering some harvest,
Sure.
right? Mhm. Yeah, so we are coming to it. Because after the opposition of Saturn, Mercury moves into Libra on September 18th, and things begin to soften. In Libra, Mercury seeks dialogue, cooperation, perspective. It's no longer about efficiency. It's about relational harmony, about tolerance, about choosing the correct word that will not offend anyone. This is a short phase because it lasts from 18th till 22nd of September, till the Sun moves as well to Libra. But it is a very valuable phase, especially for reviewing agreements, writing with this aesthetics, with sensitivity, finding diplomatic solutions in personal and in business communication. And also, it's beautiful how the sky shows it to us, but Libra is the sun where Saturn is exalted. So it's very strong in Libra. And while Mercury has just left this conflicting opposition with Saturn, now in Libra, it starts to integrate the lessons of Saturn in the sign of Saturn. So responsibility, boundaries, maturity, all that becomes more visible, more internalized. And by the end of the Virgo season, our thinking has matured. We've moved from these bright ideas in Mercury in Leo, then to concrete plans in plans in Mercury in Virgo, and to a more elegant expression of what matters when it comes to Libra. Again, we come to the end of the season with the new moon here. And this time it's a solar eclipse in the very last degree of Virgo. And that alone signals a turning point. The last degree is a critical zone. It often marks transitions, closure, irreversible decisions. Eclipses are very much about something that is not reversible. So if you make a decision, you should understand that it may be forever. The consequences may stay with you forever. This eclipse puts stress and spotlight on what's not working anymore, what needs to be cleaned up, clarified, or let go before we move on. The main players here are again Mercury and Saturn. So Mercury has just moved through the opposition of Saturn, and now eclipse goes through the same degrees. The eclipse opposes Saturn. So it's like Mercury had a hard conversation. And now the eclipse is implementing what was decided. Because the sun and the moon, they set the tone of what we are going to do with this. So there is not much softness here. It's time to end things. And because, as I've already mentioned, both eclipses, they respond to the eclipses that we've already had in spring this year. It's like a checkpoint. Did the decisions you made back then hold up? Have you decided to end something in spring, but now you find that you're still there? Are you still holding on to something that's not longer sustainable? So it's a lot about ending things. And this eclipse brings answers, though they may come in the form of discomfort, in the form of boundaries, final realizations. It's not always pleasant, but there are still necessary answers. And there are so many signs of ending during this season. You see, first, the entire season begins with the new moon in the first degree of Virgo, then it ends with an eclipse at the last degree of Virgo. So it looks like a full cycle. It's ended. Then the eclipses are about ending things. And especially when we have the sun eclipse after the moon eclipse. In such eclipse seasons, it's usually about ending something rather than starting. So it may be the process of ending something that we wanted to end half a year ago. And third, the journey of Mercury seems to help us realize what is to be ended. It also matures over this month. So that's how I feel it, and that's how I still remember about nice and loving Jupiter and Venus, but I understand that we will have to let something go. Maybe not really willingly sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring more love into the scenes because the end of Mercury at the end of its time is, or the end, this last third phase we're talking about is in gate 46, which is the determination of the self, right? It's another love gate in our identity center, right? And it's also when the solar eclipse happens, the sun will be in the same gate 46, right? And so I really think about this. I love this energy. It's kind of an energy around like kind of like being lucky, being in the right place at the right time, being very it's the love of the body, very aware of your health and wellness and that of others. It's just a really grounded, loving energy. And so I think about it as this, in this eclipse space and in Mercury, right? This conversation they're having between, this themselves about, who we are in the moment. What is our higher self, right? This is a higher self energy. And a lot of what you talked about, I was thinking about this background energy being this higher self energy might be particularly helpful in this time. Um, I don't know so much about beginnings and endings. In human design, we don't talk about that quite so much, but I do think about supportive background energies, and both of these are really lovely. And I'm going to bring back up that Saturn is in gate 25, which is also in the identity center, and Neptune is also in gate 25, right? So there's this, which is if the gate 46 is like the love of the body on the mundane plane, gate 25 is like universal love, right? So I think there's tons of love, supportive love all over. So no matter what you're doing, I think there's tons of good energy here for you.
I actually believe that we can see this love with our own eyes if we wake up early enough during this season.
Mhm.
Because throughout most of the Virgo season, especially in the last week of August and the first 2 weeks of September, but is also till the end of September, Venus and Jupiter will be visible in the morning sky
Yeah.
shortly before sunrise. They will appear low on the eastern horizon. They shine so bright that you will not mistake when you see them. And I just encourage you to try this. Just get up early, get up before dawn. And then ideally around 4:30 to 5:30, step outside, look at the east, and find these two brightest stars, and you will know that those are Jupiter and Venus. Just watch them for a few moments. This is not just a beautiful sight, though it truly is. It is a moment of connection, and it is also kind of proof that we are protected. In their current positions, just imagine Venus and Jupiter, they rise before the sun. So they kind of check for the sun if the path is clear, if it's okay. We call it, in astrology, we call such planets as bodyguards. And they act really like bodyguards. They are protective, auspicious, life-giving, supporting, and I find it's very symbolic that in this season that includes two eclipses, that begins and ends with unusual new moons, with all these serious decisions to be made. We're still offered this opportunity to see actually that we still have support. There is something beautiful in this world, and these forces are working in our favor. So yeah, I think it's a great practice to do during September. If you can do it every day, that's just perfect. But at least one or two times, just look at them, and you can even ask yourself, what is still beautiful in my life? That's a question to Venus. And what support is available to me that I might be overlooking? That's a question to Jupiter. And I believe there is, even though we're looking up, I believe it's a grounding technique because we are connecting to the nature, we are connecting to the actual bodies, celestial bodies that we see in the sky. And just try it. It is great experience. Yeah. So that's how they help us.
You also spoke about cycles, and I was thinking about that related to the gene keys and just also is like with this particular cycle aspect we're talking about now, that's when we're moving into autumn. So there's this end of this cycle, but that everything has its cycle and that we don't always recognize that. And like you said, like maybe in the spring you were thinking that you wanted to put an end to something. And so that energy was just coming, but maybe it's more like, okay, now's the time.
Mhm.
It's, but, and I don't think there's a lack of love in this because something coming to the end of a cycle doesn't mean something necessarily all that negative. I mean, even a close relationship coming to an end because it's come to its end of cycle can end in a loving way. So, um, just sort of like, how do we judge the beginnings and endings of things and hold them, I guess, with love?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's also there is a huge eclipse cycle. In reality, it's not just half a year ago. Every eclipse belongs to a family of eclipses with a long established cycle, and they tend to bring up the same themes that repeat every 18 years. So this is not just about here and now, it connects us to the past and challenges us to make peace with it. So it's not about abruptly breaking up. It's about consciously, lovingly accept what is going on and accept yourself. And it's also a good point if you're old enough, you can look back and see what happened in 2007 and even in 1989 and in 1971 and look if there are repeating themes this year. You will probably already see them. It's not just a matter of a day. If anything repeats what has already happened to you 18 years ago, um, even if it was something negative, if you remember that that was a negative experience, but you have lived through it and you know how to deal with it, it may repeat differently if you know how to deal with it. And most probably you will now live it better than you did before. So it's also about looking back and analyzing where did you grow? Did You can also ask yourself if did your choices 18 years ago lead where you hoped? And when no, do you need to adjust anything? Because you still have some time, no matter how much, that you may be adjusting and you may add some more love and beauty to your life. So,
We're never too old to run out of opportunity.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, and
Well, and also I was just thinking it might be a really great month actually because of these new moons that bracket both ends of it. Like there is this closed cycle, sort of. It is a beginning, a strict beginning and an end. And also, like for anybody that's been, say, following the sun transit, right? Like each one of those sun transits, is its own little cycle, right? It goes through its own little thing, as in so many things in life, right? Like we have been conditioned to think of time as a fairly linear thing. And so I think it might be a really great month to really try to look more at these cycles, right? And to see all the little cycles in nature, right? Lauren, like this is another place where there's this ending, there's these little cycles going on with the plants around us, and the day is its own little cycle, right? And just recognizing these circles within circles within circles that we're all enmeshed in.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I almost forgot to speak about who will be affected by the eclipses. Yeah. So this eclipse both of these eclipses may be felt most strongly by people who have key placements in mutable signs. Sun, ascendant, moon, stellium, or even some personal planets in Virgo and Pisces. Then they are directly impacted. They are the ones who will be most probably choosing new direction. They will have new endings, new responsibility, new cycles opening. So they will feel it mostly. Gemini and Sagittarius, they are also affected, but they're affected by kind of a conflict by square. They will feel the pressure to adjust. And they also will have to make important choices, but as if it doesn't come from inside, as if the universe says you have to do it. And the other signs are not afflicted that much. Taurus and Capricorn can enjoy supportive opportunities. The eclipses may work well for them. Cancer and Scorpio might feel pushed toward practical action, which is also not that bad. Aquarius and Leo could experience some friction, but not as sharply as the mutable signs. And for Aries and Libra, this eclipse may touch themes of balance, of health, and of how you use your time. It will also be an important question. But it's the closer your personal planets are to the degree of the eclipse, the more personal this will feel. You may well have this sun or ascendant in a happy Taurus sign, but some natal planet, some other personal planet may be affected by the eclipse, and you will have still feel pressure. So it may be very different. It's very individual. One may go to an astrologer to ask for personal impact, but one may also analyze your life. You can analyze your life just yourself by looking at what happened half a year ago, what happened 18 years ago, how did I react, what can I change. So it's cycle, but it's not a closed ring. It's more like a spiral. Yeah. So you can go further and find the new in endings. You can find the new beginnings as well. Yeah. So I think I covered everything I wanted to say. Just yeah, just maybe I will repeat my main idea about Venus and Jupiter, that if this season feels heavy or complicated, just know that there is still light ahead of you. Even before the sun comes up, we have the light. Even before we see the daylight, we already see this Venus and Jupiter light. So there is someone who guards us, and we can do it.
Thank you. Christine, closing words from you?
No, other than I really think this cyclical energy is really, this spiraling energy is something really to be mindful of this month. I think that it does have a lot to offer us. Just practicing that. Maybe starting a journal or a little note taking of your own, so that you can 5, 10, whatever years from now be like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot that thing was going on for me. So maybe a good practice.
Yeah. And Lois?
I'm thinking that just really taking the time to pay attention to what's going on. And the journaling idea would really help to ground that, because then we can take it forward, like you were suggesting, Anastasia, and we can start, that'll help us start looking back, because it'll sort of prime our thinking.
And what beautiful ideas. Ladies, thank you so very much for all of your contributions. Anastasiia, thanks for leading us through this.
Thank you.